Hello once again and welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. You can always find us online at zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. As we're in political season here and you're going to be voting very soon, Charisse is wanting to not only look at this thing nationally, but also look at this thing locally. There are a couple of issues that are on the ballot here in Marion County that we want to talk about. Today, Charisse talks with one of the people who is talking through that on the county commission, Kevin Sheilley. Here's Charisse and Kevin.
So we have a special guest in the house today. We have Mr. Kevin Sheilley. He is the CEO of Ocala Metro Chamber and Economic Partnership, also known as the CEP, if that's more familiar. And he is here to discuss the future of Ocala, this next election, and what this referendum is about, and referendums, to make it plural, and the importance of it. Thanks for joining us today, Kevin.
Oh, Charisse, thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad to finally be on and to have a chance to talk about what I really, truly believe is the most important issue that's going to determine the course of our community, how we move forward, or if we fall back. And it's funny you said that in this election season. There's a lot of things people are focused on in this election season, but I believe nothing impacts us more than what happens locally. National's important, state's important, but man, what happens here in our community is what really impacts people, not only in their daily lives, but in their pocketbook. And this is absolutely a pocketbook issue, but in a different way than people think.
You did a speech a couple weeks ago, and it was quite impressive. It went through the history of Marion County and the city of Ocala and the stock market, just really doing a doozy on us, and how, we're just recouping since 2023. Can you give us a little?
Yeah. If you are newer in this community, and listen, we've added over 100,000 people in just the last decade. So there are a lot of new people. You could think, man, Ocala's always been a boomtown, good things, growth and higher wages and all this good stuff. But that's not reality. In the early 2000s, Ocala truly was a boomtown, a little bit of the old West, Wild West. And everyone was building and developing, and we were flipping houses like nobody's business. The problem was it was nobody's business. No one was actually living in these houses. It was a fake economy. And when the Great Recession happened, the bottom fell out, and arguably no place in the country was more negatively impacted than Ocala. Overnight, the county and the school board lost 40% of their revenue. Wow. I mean, think about that, losing 40% of your revenue. It began a period of 7 years of double-digit unemployment. So we're talking 4% today unemployment. We were talking 14% unemployment. Stagnant wage growth. It was everything negative you could think of. Number 4 in the nation in foreclosures.
Amazing.
That's not a ranking I like. Everything bad you could think of, that's what was happening. And in fact, we talk about those lost revenue. The county did not recoup the revenue of 2007 until 2021. The school board didn't get back until 2023. So 14 and 16 years of just trying to get caught up. And so when that happens, the community, you're just trying to keep everything moving as best you can. You patch, you struggle. How do we make this happen? We don't replace this. We don't repair that. And that really caught up with us in the around 2015. So that, and this is, I tell the story because it's so burned in my memory. We had a 911 call and we had to send 3 ambulances because the first 2 broke down on the way there. I can't imagine anything more frightening than to need help, to have a loved one who needs it, and then have to worry, gosh, I hope the ambulance can get here. And so our community said, we got to address this. And the way they did that is we passed a 1-cent local option sales tax. Here in Florida, the state has a variety of opportunities for communities to do that. In our community today, we pay 7% sales tax. 6% of that goes to Tallahassee. But the remaining 1% stays here, and that's our money. And those dollars go for transportation, so paying for roads, repairing and rehabbing roads, and for first responders, buying the equipment they need, like those ambulances and fire trucks and police cars, bulletproof vest and breathing apparatus for our firefighters, all the equipment, facilities that they need to keep us safe.
Got it. So this 1% and half penny sales tax out there, what is it going to address moving forward?
Yeah. So that was passed in 2016. The voters overwhelmingly approved it again in 2020. They're having a chance again to vote on it this year. And this time it's for 20 years. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But it's going to do the same things to allow our community to have the money to build new roads. More importantly, to repair and rehab roads. The county has repaired and rehabbed over 100 miles of roads in just the last couple of years. It's one of the only sources of funds they have to take care of existing roads. And to continue, if we're not continually replacing and updating those ambulances and fire trucks and things, they're going to wear out and we're going to be back to where we were. We have a 20-year transportation plan. We have a 15-year first responder plan. We need a funding source that aligns with both of those.
Got it. So that's the 1% tax. What about the schools? I mean, it is scary to hear about how these schools have not really been refurbished in all these years. Please explain that, Penny.
So, we talked about here we've gone 16 years just to get back to even. Think about how your expenses have gone up in the last 16 years. Anyone who at home, you don't even have to have a business. You can think about, man, here's how much more insurance costs. Here's how much more utilities cost. Here's how much more all these other things cost. And they're just now up to even. And we know at the same time, the number of people moving to our community, many of them are younger. And so we've seen over the last couple of years an 11% increase in enrollment. So we have more kids in our schools, and we're just now getting back to where we were financially. And so we have a lot of our school buildings that have deferred maintenance. Because what do you do when you don't have money? You defer maintenance. So that we have a number of buildings that are in really poor shape. In fact, we have a $1.2 billion backlog just to take care of existing facilities.
Amazing.
I think the stat that amazes me is Marion County Public Schools owns 332 portables. 332. The state of Florida says the useful life of a portable is 20 years. All 332 of our portables are more than 20 years old, past their useful life. And in fact, the oldest one still in use is from 1964.
Good.
Could you? I don't want my kids or grandkids going to school in a 1964 portable. Even more, I wouldn't want to work in a 1964 portable. And so we've got this huge backlog. Again, the school system's really limited in what funds they have to be able to take care of existing facilities. What we're asking the voters to do is, look, we're at 7%. We want to stay at 7%. We want to renew that local penny. But we're also asking the voters to add a half penny. For 10 years, they would be used exclusively on taking care of existing facilities and helping us to repair and replace school buildings. And we think that's really, quite frankly, if we don't, I don't know what we're going to do. The situation is dire. But it really is the best way to provide the funds that our local governments need, whether that's county or city or school system, to take care of the needs that we have as a community.
When I originally heard about this, I initially thought, more money out of my pocket, a lot of things going on in our world. And it was concerning. But when I looked at the track history, I more feared the future if we don't take care of this. So it's like we don't have a choice.
Exactly. And I think that's a good way of thinking about it. Things are only going to get more expensive. You can pay a little now or you can pay a lot later, right? I mean, we see that all the time. Make the investments today to address these needs, to address these opportunities. Let's stay on top of them. On the roads and first responders, we're finally getting caught up. Let's make sure we stay on top of it. For schools, it's going to cost us more to get caught up, but we've got to start now. I think the other thing, I guess two things are really important. If we lose the penny, for Marion County to replace the revenue they get from the penny, they would have to raise their property tax rates more than 50%. I know I recently got my trim notice. I looked down at what is my property tax is going to be this next year. I can't imagine that going up 50%. And it's harder to generate the money that way. So it's going to probably go up even more than that. That's going to cost me real money that I'm going to see. The other thing I think is really key is, and it's probably one of the best things about the sales tax, is it broadens the base, right? Property tax is paid by the 71% of our residents who own a home, our own property. The sales tax is paid by everyone, plus another at least 30% of people who don't live in our community, but they're coming here to work or shop or be entertained. They're going to World Equestrian Center or FAST or in the near future to Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's, woohoo, jerky.
And beaver nuggets. And they're going to spend money. And when they do, they're helping to pay for our roads, to fund our first responders on whom they're depending, and to provide for our schools and the future workforce who will be helping to take care of them.
So our millage goes up 50%, or we vote yes and we have tourists helping pay for
Absolutely.
all this.
And I'm all about broadening the base and letting other people. In fact, Charisse, you may know we have an economist, Dr. Sharon Younger, we use, and she's looked at this 3 times for us. And every time she says at least 30% of the revenue will be paid by people who don't live here. She actually thinks it's probably quite a bit higher than that, but we would have to do a much more in-depth study, and that would cost about $100,000. And so I said, you know what, we're just going to go with the 30% and know that it could be quite a bit higher.
For people who own properties, if you own a $200,000 property and say your property tax is $2,000, that'll go to $3,000.
It'd be $3,000.
So,
But the average household with a penny and a half on the sales tax, that's going to cost you about $300 a year.
okay. Wow.
So $300, $1,000.
Right. Good point. Wow. Okay. The math makes sense to me. So the business community is really interested in this. Tell me about, why they're so passionate and that kind of stuff.
The business community really took the lead in 2016 to get this issue on the ballot and get it passed, and then led the effort again in 2020 on the renewal. And they're taking the lead again this time. And part of that is under our state law, the local governments can't take a position. They can't lead the efforts. They can simply say, we're going to put it on the ballot and leave it to the people to figure out. Well, people have got to know about it. Someone's got to educate them, to market, to tell them. And the business community said, this is so important. We're going to step up and take the lead. So much so that the business community has contributed over $250,000 on this campaign. That's probably the most money ever raised in a local campaign here. But it's because I think the businesses should recognize how important it is. How else are we going to take care of our roads? We want to keep not only our businesses safe, but our employees safe. How do we do that? Well, we've got to make sure our first responders have the tools and equipment they have. We want to make sure that our schools are producing. Even if we don't have kids in school, we have workforce. We have employees who have kids. We want to make sure that our schools are safe, not just adequate, but really places where kids can be set up to learn. And if all the other things we're doing, if you're in a building that's falling down, you're probably not going to be focused on learning. So I think it's really been key about this is what's in the best interest of our community. Yes, there's some enlightened self-interest. Yeah, we don't want to pay a 50% increase in property tax. We don't want to see, drive through a road that's full of potholes. But this is also how we invest to ensure our community has the best opportunities to be successful.
$300, $1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So vote yes, right?
Every day, all day. So for most of our residents, when they get the ballot, if you haven't seen it yet, it's lengthy. It's 3 pages long.
Yeah.
It is, unless you live in Denellen, it is the last 2 items on your ballot.
Okay, the last 2 items.
Last 2 items, just know, vote yes. If you live in Denellen, it's the last 2 and then the Denellen charter amendment. I guess you want to vote yes on that. I really don't know. But yes on those 2.
Wow.
And it's, as always, right, it's written by attorneys, which means it's very complicated when you read it. But know that the first one is we're just renewing the penny. We're not adding. It doesn't cost us more. We're renewing the penny. And the second is to add the half penny. If we look across the state, most communities are already paying about between 7 and 8%. It's going to put us right in the middle. We're going to be paying what most everyone else in the state's already paying in sales tax.
Yeah. Kevin, you shared that we have over 260 people a week moving.
Almost 270.
Oh my gosh, a week moving to our area. Marion County, the city of Ocala, that is huge. Those people need schools.
Yes.
They're going to put their money back into our community
Absolutely.
by buying locally and being part of this. So I don't see any reason why it should be marked no. Of course, everybody, we get freedom of choice. That's the beautiful thing here. Hey, you might just say no because maybe you don't like Kevin. You might just say yes because you do like Kevin, right? You might say yes just because you live here, you work here. Some people might be retired and they're like, Charisse, I don't have kids here. How does that help me? We're a community here. Marion County, I've learned, is just like everybody helps each other to really get that workforce going, get the community moving. And
absolutely. And I think it's a great example. I love getting a chance to talk in so many of our retirement communities and they get it because they know, one, they care about the penny because that's our first responders and they want to make sure they have the tools and equipment we need. But they also recognize on the half penny, you know what? There's got to be someone to work in that ambulance. There's got to be someone to ride on that fire truck. There's got to be someone at that hospital if I need them. Where are they coming from? Well, they're coming through our school system. I want to make sure that the people who's going to be taking care of me in the future are getting the best education possible. I want to make sure I have a well-trained and smart firefighter or EMT or nurse, or fill the blank all the way down the line. This is how we help do it. So we all benefit, whether it's directly for us or really just in our best interest. I think everyone sees that when they vote yes, they're voting for their own future.
Got it. As we wrap up, what's the one thing you want to leave with our listeners today?
I think we're going to have to pay for this stuff. We have to pay for our first responders. We've got to pay for our roads. We've got to take care of our kids. How do you want to do it? Do you want to be a narrow focus, just the 71% of the property owners who are going to pay thousands more? Or we keep it broad base and we all pay a couple $100, household, a couple $100 per household to ensure that we're taking care of all these things that are key for us. I say let's let visitors help pay for our roads on which they drive, pay for our first responders on whom they depend, and pay for our workforce who's helping to take care of them.
Lovely. I love it. Let's do it. Everybody vote yes.
Oh, yes.
Kevin, thank you so much for coming.
As always,
spending
thank you
your
for the
time.
opportunity.
You are so welcome.
Charisse, we have been talking over the last couple of weeks about how the city is planning, the county is planning, and they always have to look forward. And in a way, we have to do the same thing with our retirement planning. We spend 30 or 40 years saving and getting ready for this, and hopefully that there's some planning involved, and that's kind of where we want to go next.
It is. And I will say it really is full circle with retirement planning as your pre-retirement or post-retirement. And it just resonates with our income planning strategies and our tax planning strategies. Think of the 1% half penny sales tax. Think of that as like setting up a proper retirement income plan, to be honest. You need to create, consistent streams of income during your retirement to cover your needs. And these taxes ensure consistent funding for essential services like schools and infrastructure. And, without a steady source, just like without the retirement plan, you'll face bigger financial challenges later. I will tell you, Randy, people come in and they don't have a plan. They're already in retirement. I'm already seeing hazards that are taking place. And, this is why we stress test the retirement. But when people come in ahead of time and we can pre-plan and show you the hazards, like if we don't do this, if you can't see it, if we don't start creating and working towards this retirement maze and this puzzle, these if events are likely to happen, right? And people's number one fear is running out of money and longevity risk. And if you can plan ahead of time, it really does ease the process as you're easing into retirement. And planning for, the city of Ocala and Marion County, it's the same thing. We're trying to protect the locals and the residents, 20 years out from children, from poverty, roads, making sure that grandma and grandpa can get to the hospital without an ambulance breaking down, right? So all these dollars are very important for future planning to ease our path as we're moving forward.
Well, one of the things that you'll hear at news conferences is as candidates stand up there and say, we want to help this group and I want to do this and I want to do that. I want more money for FEMA. I need this. And then the next question is, where does the money come from? That's the question that the journalists will say. Where's the money coming from? And they'll have to come up with a way to do that. And in a way, when you sit down with somebody, they say, I want to do this trip. I want to have a second home. I want to do this. I want to buy a boat. I want to buy an RV. And then you have to say, same thing. Where's the money going to come from? And then the math begins, doesn't it?
It does. So, we're talking about the importance of passing the referendum, and not passing it could be a domino effect on the residents, right? Your property tax is going up. Somebody's got to pay it. We talked about it, with the mayor. If we don't allow tourists and people who are stopping in, that's 30%. To help pay for these things, we pay for it. So it just makes sense to vote yes for that 1% half penny sales tax so that our costs don't go up, right? I mean, our costs are always going to go up. But if we plan ahead of time and we all understand what it's for, think about the last time we passed this tax. It just really started rebuilding sheriff stations, cars, fire stations, you name it. And because they were working out of old places. And, we want to make sure these places don't collapse on the people who are front of the line, right? That are helping us.
Well, one of the other things that we can probably draw an analogy to is as someone comes into office and said, this is where the need is, we have to make an adjustment. And that's one of the reasons we talk about here, why having a financial professional in your life, and you can say, hey, inflation went up to 9%. I didn't have enough money. I need to make an adjustment. Or something happened in my life. There's a health difficulty. All of a sudden, I have to outfit my house in a different way. I need more income. So adjustments need to be made. And Charisse, you talk about this all the time, that you meet with your clients not only on a yearly basis, on a regularly basis, but also on an as-need basis as well.
Exactly. Another analogy we can put here is that half penny tax in helping our schools. There have been no adjustments to these schools. Mm-hmm. Do you know that over 50% of our schools have not been updated for 30 years and longer? Yeah. And that's what, Kevin said, that is a scary thing. We have these portable trailers out there at schools that are still the same ones from 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. What if the roof caved in? What if the kids fell through a hole? I mean, seriously, we have to protect our children for the future. And making, some of these adjustments and fixing things up is going to be key. And just like in our portfolios, like you were saying, we have to update your portfolios. Mm-hmm. It can't be a set it and forget it and do nothing. That is not a plan. That is nothing to me. Retirement planning unfolds with making adjustments annually. Maybe, I had somebody come in and we've made 4 adjustments this year.
Wow.
And we're not even at the end of the year. And we're personally making big strides and changes in our portfolio management, from monthly trading to day trading, right? Basically, if needed. And so we have to make these adjustments. Times are changing, and we need to be forward thinking to protect our community, to protect your retirement portfolios, because there's a lot of noise out there. The elections, there's war, there's gasoline prices, there's interest rates going down, there's inflation, there's market volatility, right? And there's so many things out there, and thinking ahead and making the decision to what is best first. What do we need to plan first as we're being the guiding light for retirees? Is it the best investment under the sun, or is it, hey, how much income do you need and how sustainable does that need to be? And then it leads to, okay, the next step is, well, you have 100% at risk. Should we? Because that's not going to provide a sustainable income. Should we pull back the reins a little bit and create some safe money strategies and even tax strategies? So there's a lot that goes into income planning and retirement planning, just as it is when it comes to planning for Marion County and the city.
Planning for the future. That's really what we're talking about here on the show every single week, planning for your future. And we love to help you with that in the same way that our city, our county is getting ready for the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years. We have to do the same thing with our retirement. We kind of have to look forward. And that's what we want to do for you. Give us a call at Zinnia Wealth or go to our website. Let's sit down and have that conversation about the next 20, 30 years of your life. ZinniaWealth.com is our website, ZINNIA Wealth.com. There's a gold box there, and it says complimentary retirement consultation. That's exactly what it sounds like. We're going to sit down and talk about what you want to do in retirement, what you've done so far to save, and what that provides for you for income. We're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about estate planning. Let's get all the boxes checked off so that you can go into retirement with some confidence. Here's our number, 833-368-3680, 833-368-3680, or once again, ZinniaWealth.com.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Coffee Talk podcast. If you have questions or would like to begin the process of building a tailored retirement plan, call Zinnia Wealth at 833-368-3680 or find us online at ZinniaWealth.com.
Charisse Rivers is an investment advisor representative of Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Charisse Rivers is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration Corporation, or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any client experiences discussed during this show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Charisse Rivers, NPN Insurance License Number 8718011.